From the man who entered a cave and never came back alive, to the incident that forever changed cave exploration history. Today, we're exploring 3 cave expeditions that turned into absolute nightmares. The John Edward Jones Incident. John Edward Jones was an American medical student and cave explorer. Like many thrill seekers, John Edward Jones was passionate about exploring deep underground caves. On November 24th, 2009, 26-year-old medical student John Jones entered the infamous Nutty Putty Cave with his friends and family. The cave was famous for its extremely narrow passages, some barely wider than the human body. John Edward Jones stepped into the cave, unaware of what was waiting ahead.
Howdy, partner.
Everything seemed fine in the beginning, but deep underground, John made a fatal mistake. He entered the wrong tunnel, thinking he was crawling toward a larger chamber. John squeezed deeper into a tiny crack only 10 inches wide. Then suddenly, John realized something was terribly wrong. But unfortunately, it was too late.
How did I get stuck in here?
He got stuck, completely upside down. He tried to move forward, then backward, but he was completely stuck. Because he was trapped upside down, blood started rushing into his head. Breathing became harder every minute. The tighter he struggled, the deeper he slid. Soon, he couldn't move at all. The moment his friends realized John was trapped, they immediately called rescue teams. The rescue teams arrived quickly after analyzing the situation. The rescue team built a rope and pulley system to pull John out. They spent hours building a complex rope and pulley system inside the cramped cave. With everything prepared, the rescuers began pulling him out. At one point, they almost pulled him free, but then disaster struck. One of the rope anchors snapped. John fell back into the crack, even deeper than before. The rescuers knew the situation was becoming impossible.
Incredible sense of disappointment and discouragement about that having happened, because they know that it was hard to get him to that point, and getting him back to that point again would be a real effort again.
His body position was slowly shutting down his organs. After many exhausting hours of rescue operations, rescuers still couldn't free him. For over 28 hours, John remained trapped underground until he stopped responding. After hours of rescue efforts, they discovered that John had not survived. He was pronounced dead inside the cave. But even then, they were unable to bring his body back out of the cave. His body remained trapped inside the cave. The cave was later sealed, turning it into John's final resting place. Neil Moss. Neil Moss was a young British cave explorer from England. He was passionate about underground exploration and fascinated by deep cave systems that very few people had ever seen. During the 1950s, cave exploration was becoming increasingly popular among adventurous young explorers. But back then, equipment and rescue technology were still very limited. Every expedition carried serious risks, and Neil Moss was preparing for one of the most dangerous cave explorations of his life. Before the expedition began, Neil and his friends gathered together to plan their underground journey. Maps of the cave system were spread across the table. Ropes, helmets, lanterns, and climbing equipment filled the room. The team carefully discussed the narrow underground passages deep inside Peak Cavern. Some sections were known for being dangerously tight. Others dropped into deep vertical shafts, disappearing into complete darkness. But despite the risks, excitement filled the room. For explorers like Neil, Caves represented mystery, adventure, and discovery. Finally, the day of the expedition arrived. The group traveled to the cave entrance in Derbyshire, England. Cold wind moved across the rocky landscape as the explorers prepared their gear. One by one, they disappeared into the darkness below. At first, everything went smoothly. The team moved carefully through wet underground tunnels, illuminated only by weak headlamps and lanterns. Water dripped from the cave ceiling. The deeper they went, the narrower the tunnels became. Some passages were barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through, but Neil continued deeper underground. Eventually, Neil began descending into an extremely narrow vertical shaft. The tunnel was incredibly tight. Rough limestone walls pressed closely around his body as he carefully moved downward using ropes. Darkness surrounded him from every direction. Then suddenly, disaster struck. Rocks and loose debris shifted inside the cave. The narrow shaft partially collapsed around Neil, trapping him deep underground. The team immediately realized something had gone terribly wrong. Rescue teams rushed into the cave, carrying ropes and emergency equipment. But the conditions underground were extremely dangerous. The tunnel was so tight that rescuers could barely move. Thick carbon dioxide gas slowly began building up inside the shaft. Breathing became more difficult with every passing hour. The tragedy shocked Britain and became one of the country's most famous cave disasters. Even today, the story of Neil Moss remains a haunting reminder of how dangerous underground exploration can truly be. Floyd Collins. Long before modern rescue technology existed, one cave disaster captured the attention of the entire United States. It was January 1925. Deep in the hills of Kentucky, a young cave explorer named Floyd Collins prepared for another underground expedition. Floyd Collins was an American cave explorer, known for his passion for discovering unexplored cave systems. During the early 1900s, cave exploration was becoming increasingly popular in Kentucky because of the region's massive underground cave networks. Floyd dreamed of discovering a famous cave that could attract tourists and bring financial success to his family. He spent years exploring dangerous underground passages, searching for hidden cave systems that no one had seen before. But in 1925, one expedition would change history forever. On January 30th, Floyd entered Sand Cave in Kentucky alone. The cave was narrow, unstable, and difficult to navigate. At first, the exploration went normally. Floyd carefully moved through tight rocky passages, carrying only basic equipment and lantern light. The deeper he went, the tighter the cave became. Sharp limestone walls surrounded him from every direction. But Floyd continued forward, hoping to discover larger hidden chambers deeper underground. Then suddenly, disaster struck. The rock collapsed. As Floyd squeezed through a narrow tunnel, a large rock suddenly shifted above him. The heavy stone crashed down and pinned his leg tightly against the cave wall. Floyd became completely trapped deep underground. No matter how hard he tried, he could not free himself. The tunnel was so narrow that movement was almost impossible. Darkness surrounded him. Cold air filled the cave, and Floyd realized he was trapped alone beneath the earth. When Floyd failed to return home, people quickly realized something was wrong. Search teams entered the cave and eventually found him trapped deep inside the narrow passage. At first, Rescuers believed they could free him quickly, but the situation became far more dangerous than expected. The cave was unstable, loose rocks constantly threatened to collapse, and the narrow tunnel made rescue operations extremely difficult.
Collins had been trapped in a Kentucky cave by a falling boulder, and the whole wanted to know from hour to hour what progress his rescuers were making. The youth had boring the narrow, twisting entrance to the cave when the rock had fallen and pinned his foot so he couldn't move.
America becomes obsessed. News of Floyd Collins' situation spread rapidly across the United States. Soon, newspapers across the country were covering the story daily. Thousands of people traveled to Kentucky, hoping to witness the rescue operation. Reporters gathered outside the cave entrance, day and night. The tragedy became one of the first major media events in American history. Some reporters even crawled inside the cave to interview Floyd directly underground. Imagine that, trapped in darkness, unable to move, while the entire country listened to your final days. Rescue attempts? Rescuers worked continuously trying to save Floyd. They attempted breaking the rock trapping his leg, digging new tunnels, and clearing unstable debris. But every rescue attempt faced serious problems. The cave was extremely dangerous. Small collapses slowed progress repeatedly. Cold temperatures underground weakened Floyd more and more each day. Time slowly began running out. After more than 2 weeks trapped underground, Floyd Collins died inside Sand Cave. When rescuers finally reached him, it was already too late. The tragedy shocked the nation. Floyd Collins became one of the most famous cave exploration victims in history. Legacy. The Floyd Collins disaster permanently changed cave rescue history in America. It exposed how dangerous underground exploration could truly be. The incident also inspired improvements in cave rescue methods, emergency response planning, and underground safety awareness. Even today, nearly a century later, the story of Floyd Collins remains one of the most haunting exploration tragedies ever recorded. Because deep underground, one falling rock can become the difference between discovery and disaster. Thank you so much for watching my very first YouTube video. Your support means a lot to me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and join me for more exciting and interesting content coming soon.